Bajide Ogunsanwo is here to shed some light about that. He's got a perspective on this. He's a data and information analyst. Thank you for coming on today.
Thank you for having me again.
Well, this failure concerns, everyone wants to see this change. Yes, everyone wants to see this. But you think that this can happen? Because, yes, we see other sectors of the economy, what's happening with all of them, but you think differently about this failure. What's your perspective on it?
I think the trend can change, but we will have to do something differently than what we currently are doing.
Other than investing in that sector?
Other than investing in that sector, because what you'll notice is, excuse me, in 2012, for example, when the failure rates, when, for example, the only students that scored 5 credits in English and maths in 2012 was 39%. Then there was so much noise about how do we change this trend. Now, what you will notice then was the amount we budgeted to education in 2012 then was 397 billion naira. However, only 39% of students effectively passed WAEC. Within 2 years, we've invested an additional 106 billion naira into education. So as of today, the budget of the Ministry of Education, including the budget of the Universal Basic Education, combined together, it's about 497 billion. So we can see within 2 years, we put in so much money into education.
Approaching 500 billion naira.
Exactly. However, the failure rate has increased. So what you will notice, and what the evidence shows, is that for this trend to change, it goes beyond investing more in education. The problem we have as of today is we have highly underestimated the failure rate, and we've also highly overestimated the possible solutions. I'll explain what I mean by we've highly underestimated the failure rate. The structure of the Nigerian economy as of today has 47.5% of the Nigerian female population below the age of 19. On the male population, you have a male population in Nigeria of 51% are below the age of 19. So what you have in essence is a Nigerian population that is really divided into two. On one side, you have about 49% of the population that are above the age of 19. But on the other side, you have about 51% of the population that are below the age of 19. So in essence, when we say there's a mass failure in WAEC, it's not that there's really a mass failure in WAEC. What we are really telling ourselves is that we failed as a nation. Because when 19-year-olds fail WAEC, and 19-year-olds and below represent 51% of the population, a failure in WAEC is not just a failure in WAEC. A failure in WAEC is a failure on the economy. Unfortunately, we've always considered that to change this trend has to do with investing more in education, which the evidence shows investing more in education may not solve it. And we've paid very little attention to what incentive the secondary school student has to pass WAEC. In most times, when I share my thoughts on the failure in WAEC, I often say that the secondary school student in Nigeria has 2 goals on his journey to winning a prize. The first goal is to get out of secondary school. The second goal is to get into university and get out of university with a good grade. And those goals are with the focus of winning the ultimate prize. And the ultimate prize is to get a high income paying job. Now what we have is once the size and value of that prize starts to shrink, like a pack of cards, everything falls down. Once the size and value of your ultimate prize reduces, the incentive to get into university reduces, the incentive to pass WAEC reduces. And by prize, what I mean is a recent report by a group called EFINA, Enhancing Financial Innovation and Access, which has strong interest by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, recently concluded that 96% of jobs in Nigeria pay below 70,000 naira. We need to ask ourselves, is this an incentive for the secondary school students to want to pass WAEC, to get into university, and then pick a job.
What's the alternative?
The alternative is quite interesting, and the alternative is what we haven't looked at. The alternative is there's so much opportunities that has opened up in what we have today and what we call today the music industry. In fact, Nollywood and the music industry is the second fastest growing sector in the economy. So for the young man, the alternative is that industry. Today, the music industry and Nollywood is bigger than the textile sector. Today, the music industry is bigger than even the insurance sector in Nigeria. Today, the music industry is twice the size of the broadcasting sector. Another way to look at it is, let's take a view of some of our leaders and who they inspire. And we also need to compare that with the young man of today and who he finds inspiration in. And it's an interesting analysis which gives a lot of insight that the government hasn't really looked into. A leader like Sam Adeyemi on Twitter has 151,000 followers. Pastor Adiboye has 161,000 followers. The former Minister of Education, Obi Ezekwesili, has 166,000 followers. The governor of Lagos State, arguably Lagos State with the biggest economy in the country, has Twitter followers has 236,000 Twitter followers. Now let's assume all their Twitter followers are unique. These four people have a combined followership of 714,000 followers on one hand. On the other hand, take an artist like Two-Face Idibia. He has 822,000 followers. Now what we are saying is that yes, these four leaders can pass the message of pass the message of peace, pass the message of unity, pass the message of we as a nation having to be more tolerable religiously to one another. Yes, they can do that. But when it comes to education, what we now have to start looking at is who do the students find inspiration in? The students find inspiration in not the leaders that speak articulately. They don't find inspiration in the leaders that speak rationally, speak with so much eloquence and so much arithmetical reasoning. The students find more inspiration in the young man that sings and has a lot of his music in a lot of pidgin and vernacular.
By reason of their followership?
By reason of their followership. Now, make no mistake, this is not a call for the government to ban songs on pidgin English and on or songs that are in vernacular. What we are saying is this artist give us a chance to make things change. So, for example, if most of these artists come up and start promoting education to their followers, then things can change.